There's more to imagine when you listen, so let your imagination soar with Audible. Audible has audio titles from every genre that will inspire you to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog. Enjoy an exciting reawakening of a beloved classic with the Audible original David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, produced by Academy Award-winning director Sam Mendes, starring Ncuti Gatwa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Theo James. This adaptation breathes new life into a familiar tale. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
Welcome to the newest game show sensation on Hulu, The Blame Game. I'm your host, Ellen. Therese, are you ready to play the blame game?
I am, Ellen.
Great. I will present a scenario, and you will tell me who to blame. It's quite simple. Therese, our first scenario is worth 5 points. You're driving down the freeway during rush hour, and the traffic rolls to a sudden standstill. A line of cars ahead brake hard, and you rear-end the car directly in front of you. Who's to blame for the accident?
Traffic?
No, we're looking for a person.
Is it me, Ellen?
That's 5 points. Well done, Therese. Let's move to scenario 2, where the scenario gets a little more nuanced and is worth 17 points. Sally goes out to a bar one night. She drinks a lot and takes a stranger home with her. She has a wild night of sexy fun, but wakes up with a raging hangover and a scorching case of herpes. Let's just say Sally is upset about it. Therese, who's to blame?
Is it Sally?
Maybe.
Is it the stranger?
Could be.
Hookup culture?
Sounds possible.
Sally's father?
Perhaps.
The stigma around STDs?
You might be right.
So what's the answer?
Hard to say, but we'll give you 11 points. Next scenario. This one is worth 2 points. It's way more difficult, but the answer might not be very valuable.
Okay, lean on me, Ellen.
Your country elects a convicted felon and all-around monster who previously promised he'd be a dictator on day one. Who's to blame?
Uninformed voters?
Could be.
Corporate media?
Maybe.
Your mom?
She's part of it.
Elon Musk tech bros?
Certainly, maybe.
Boomers?
Very possible.
Zoomers?
You know what? We could go on all day. It's time for our final scenario worth 3,000 points. If you get this right, Therese, you win the grand prize. A bus trip to San Francisco.
Wow.
Here's your final scenario, Therese. You're on the bus for your beautiful, all expenses paid day trip for one to San Francisco, driving down the 101, nearing the famous Golden Gate Bridge. Oops! There's a tire blowout. The driver, a Mrs. Joan Smith, loses control of the bus and it careens into a wall. Luckily, the bus bounces off that wall instead of floating over a cliffside. But the force sends the bus rolling end over end over end, and it crushes a lot of cars and a lot of people, including you. Who's to blame, Therese?
The driver?
Maybe. Sexist.
Whoever left the sharp object on the road?
Could be.
California Highway Patrol?
I wouldn't doubt it.
This television show for sending me on a shitty bus trip to San Francisco?
You might be onto something, Therese. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Please join us next time on The Blame Game. Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg here with Therese Garcia in her house.
Hello.
And today we're discussing episode 339 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if someone gave up everything to save you?
Wow, that's a good one.
Kristen grows up in a home with many fond memories, but she also has a horrible shaping ones of being molested at 3 and lots of turmoil in the house as she grows older. Her perceived rebellion as a teenager has her parents send her off to one of those wilderness teen rescue places. Well, she ends up going to 4, and after a near escape and a lot of pain and trouble, she graduates and comes back home to finish high school. She's behind socially, but reconnects with an old friend and is promptly accepted by a new friend group, and this makes all the difference. She goes camping with them for the first time and has a ball until they go cliff jumping into unsafe waters. She nearly drowns herself, but is rescued by her new friend, Stevie. Unfortunately, Stevie can't save himself and dies tragically in her rescue. She blames herself, and though the people around her assure her at first, eventually, though, the anger and blame of grief sets in, and she's ostracized. She has to find her own path to acceptance of herself, and she eventually does, especially after making peace with her teen self she's left behind. And full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening, and he knows nothing about anything. She comes in fresh. This shared trauma/bonded is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's trauma bonded. T, what stuck out to you is the heart of Kristen's story.
So I went with one word on the heart today, and that word is branch. Though it doesn't save Stevie's life, I still think a branch is a powerful metaphor for decisions we make or things that happen in our lives that lead to a lot of other paths and a lot of other branches in our lives that could have happened, could not have happened.
Isn't that called like branch? Like there's a name for that sort of decision making. Is it called branch decision making?
Is it? Really?
Because I know what you're talking about. It's like when you have everything laid out, and then you have like,
Oh, like a decision tree?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If it's a decision tree, then certainly
those
it
are
has
branches.
branches. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that, right?
It's a lot of micro decisions that build up to big, long lasting consequences.
But she starts to kind of own her own life as she gets older, and she starts to reach others.
You're right. It's like she's been on kind of other people's trees, and she actually establishes her own tree.
Yeah,
At the
yeah.
end.
You know,
Start her own branches.
yeah, and helping others to kind of understand their own purpose, and she becomes, their guidance or their inspiration, right?
Yeah, I like that. I get that. And I feel like it's sort of related to mine,
Oh, good.
as it usually is. If you think about the stages of grief as a decision tree, that's mine. That the assurance of the stages of grief are undeniable, and the blame game usually comes at some point, right?
Mhm.
This is how grief works. And even though I pre-interviewed her, like I knew what Kristen's story was going to be, even when I first hear the episode in its full, complete form, it is the first time I'm hearing it and how it's been built by Whit and the editors. And I'm listening to it going, oh, they're that way now at this moment, but these feelings are going to be changing because that's the nature of grief. So I just kept waiting for that moment when the shoe fell and someone was mad and the blame starts. But it's all natural, it's all part of it. And she keeps talking about this uneasiness that she's feeling, and she probably intuited that it was coming too, because that's what we do. We get through a crisis, we love on each other, we're weeping together, we are just feeling the pain, and then your brain starts to kick in and it's doing the what if and why and who and how did we get there, and it gets overanalyzed to death. And that's when, if there is a possibility of turning it on someone, it usually happens, right? The stages of the stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, but they don't come in order. And they can come all out of order, and they could come and leave and come back and come in different forms, and it's a big messy thing, but it happens. And the point is, all of the stages will come. So anger and bargaining were always destined to come in grieving Stevie. And she was the convenient, alive target for those feelings. And we'll talk more about whether she should be blamed. We'll talk about that. I do want to address a couple things before we really get into it. Last Wednesday, I mean, I hope you guys know this, but we record these episodes 4 or 5 days before they're released. So obviously we recorded last week's episode before the election. And I'm sorry that as the results of the election were being revealed on Wednesday, that you just get our episode talking about orgy moms and breakfast sausage, and it just seems so flippant, just, considering everything that just happened to everybody. I hope it was a respite. Thank you, Jamie, for saying so on our Instagram. But we would like to say a little, or I will like to say a little bit, and then T, if you want to say anything, but you don't have to. I'll speak for you if you're okay with that. Last Wednesday was a rough one for sure. I can't believe I even made the Instagram post. Like, my mind was so over the place. I was on a job, and I was obviously highly stressed and distraught and in shock and bewildered, just completely beside myself and not knowing what to feel and who to blame, basically. And so we just want to say, we know that a lot of you are probably feeling that shock. You're feeling gaslit. And for those of you who are already disenfranchised or othered or hated, you probably feel that even more so now. And we're angry, we're tired. And our message to you is that you're not alone in your feelings and your fears and your pain. There are billions in the world who feel this with you, with us, with America. We encourage you to hold tight to people who value the wonderful things that you do, the ideals that you do, and stick together and draw boundaries among those who have shown their true colors. And reach out. Reach out to us. We answer every email. We answer every direct message. And if you just need to vent or rant and you want to hit send it to us. We're here for you. Send it to us. We will hold you and hold your message close.
I did it. I sent you a vent reel.
Yeah. I got a lot of text messages of just fuck.
Yeah, that's the one I sent you.
Yeah. And that's all we've got today. Be kind to yourself, rest, reflect, scream, eat, run, and then be ready to have some hope again. We're going to get through it. We're going to find a way through. And enough of that, because we've had enough of that. Let's talk about other things. I do want to talk about some comments I saw on Patrick's episode last week, though.
Okay.
I don't know if you read any of the comments on Instagram. A few people, it felt significant, were saying that they couldn't feel sympathy for Patrick. They didn't think that he was remorseful enough, that he didn't present remorse, that he only presented self-pity. And people said they couldn't feel sympathy for someone who took someone else's life. And I understand that. But I guess my question is, what is he supposed to do with his life? Is he just supposed to also die? Would you feel better if he was spending it in prison, just wasting away? I mean, this is a man that's completely dedicated his whole life to seeking justice for others. If that's not a payment or a demonstration of remorse, then I don't know what is. And that is my question. If he's not doing what he's doing, then what should he be doing to garner your sympathy or garner your understanding?
Like, what would prove
to
the stranger that he actually is being remorseful? I mean, again, and we've talked about forgiveness many times, and I have said, that I don't forgive freely. I freely say that. And I've said that about people I know who have wronged me. But I'm just wondering how, like, a stranger's like, I don't know this person, and they did this to another person I don't know. And they don't know any of their stories for real or the other person's story either. So I'm just going to say they suck.
Yeah,
You know, I'm saying I'm not going to forgive the person who wronged me. So I'm understanding like the wife might not forgive
completely.
the man who killed her husband. I get it. But Mr. Random Guy
Yeah.
listened to the first half of the podcast.
Well, I would never hurt someone. I would never kill someone.
And if I did, this is how I would show remorse. Just tell us what it is.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to see if after you spent the amount of time in prison that you were given in the legal system, what then, if it's not to actually talk to other people and help prevent them from doing the same thing, what else could it be?
I mean, literally his job is about restorative justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is he supposed to do? And I get it. There is a couple times where he refers to the person that he killed as Guy or the guy, and it probably would have been more respectful if he said his name. I want you to keep in mind as well, we talked to people I think we talked to Patrick for 6 hours. That kind of detail might have got washed out of the edit, and that's on us. That's not on Patrick. We're distilling down a lot of information into a palatable broad strokes of a story. You can you can have the opinion all day. I'm just glad that you're listening, but honestly, to come onto a place where you can comment and say that you don't feel any sympathy for him, it just makes me feel like it's a little bit self-righteous. Like you can't suspend your perfectly ordered life for 2 seconds to think that you could be in a situation where you might harm someone and it wasn't your intention to, and some event pushed you to. I mean, just be careful with the judgment, because the universe has a way of showing up and showing you how to show sympathy for people. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I was surprised when I read them, and I wanted to say something. I don't want to belabor the point. I just want it to be something that we think about. These stories are meant to make us stop and not go with maybe our knee-jerk reaction or our instant reaction, but really think and try to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and hopefully come out of it with a bit more understanding. And I feel like these are the sort of things that are going to end up drawing us closer together, and we need that more than ever.
That's how these stories affect me.
Yeah.
I think that's what the point is. I mean, when I was voting, for example, I found out all these stories and listening to these stories affected the way I voted. There were some prison things in there. There was some stuff in there. I was like, I'm thinking about all these people.
Like the propositions.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, in other states or around the world, I mean, I don't know how other states are or other countries are, but California, we do have a lot of propositions on the ballot every time we vote. We're probably most well known for Prop 8. It was hugely controversial because
yes was no, no was yes, and
it was written very confusedly.
Yeah.
And they do that. They try to trip people up. But anyway, yeah. That's what the stories are for. Okay, so let's talk about Kristen. So I guess they don't have health care in Kansas, so you have to go to Colorado if you want to work in it.
Is that what you have to do?
That's how it was phrased.
Oh.
It just stuck out. It was funny to me. She's like, my mom was born and raised in Kansas. She wanted to work in healthcare, so she moved to Colorado.
Oh. They don't have that there.
I thought it was funny that her mom and dad met at like an old school matchmaker situation. They elope in Vegas, and they have this small house, and they're just a happy little family in Littleton with their little sister. She mentions that she felt important to her parents. I guess it's an important thing to note, and I guess a lot of kids don't feel important to their parents, which is sad. Did you have anything you want to say up to the molestation?
It's just darker knowing. It's just sadder.
And it's hard to think of what happens at 3 years old, what you can actually remember. But she says she has like little clips of memories, And even back then, she knew it was bad by her mom's reaction, and God bless her for telling her mom that it happened.
Probably because she felt important.
Yeah, it all goes together.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Still sucks.
it's terrible. And it weighed on her parents, so they moved because this asshole lived down the street. They moved to Columbine.
Yeah, as soon as I heard that.
This neighborhood's unsafe. Didn't Littleton have a school or a
It
shooting?
sounded familiar too.
I think Littleton was where they had the Joker shooting. Remember that?
Was in the movie theater?
one?
Oh, there's a lot in Colorado, I feel like.
Oh no, that was Aurora.
Oh, also in Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they moved to a safe Columbine at 9 years old. Columbine happens, and it's funny because in the episode they don't really say what Columbine is. They give you little like clues around it, and it's like I guess the editor assumed most people walking the planet.
Well, as soon as I heard they moved there, I was like, oh, now what?
Columbine. Well, for our younger listeners, does everyone just know what Columbine is?
Oh, I don't know.
There was a massacre in 1999. I mean, that's 25 years ago. There are people possibly listening that weren't born yet
Yeah.
and are just used to high school shootings. This was sort of there had been school shootings before this, but this was sort of like a big one. And it really landed in American consciousness. And it is something that's commonly referred to as sort of like this mega tragedy that's now 25 years old. So she's around this and seeing people going through it at 9 years old. She talks a lot about how her parents were fighting and her friends pointed it out. She said she always felt different because of the sexual assault and this fighting in her home, and she felt lonely. She was Columbine for high school.
But yeah, that would feel weird.
That would be so weird to walk around that high school. To go there. Yeah. She felt anxious all the time, and her grades started dropping, and she made friends with the bad kids, and eventually she's diagnosed depressed, but it gives her brain fog, so she's throwing her pills away. And then apparently one night she just doesn't tell her parents where she went, so they have her kidnapped and sent away to a wilderness reform school for corrupt teenage minds. And again, this is an editing thing. I'm sure there was a lot more lead up to that, but maybe that one night just sent them over the edge.
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay to not tell your parents if you're gonna be gone all night.
Still seems extreme.
It seems extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's basically she's legally kidnapped. She's taken to wilderness for troubled teen thing in Montana. It sucks. We've heard these stories about these schools. It's heavily monitored. There's a lot of abuse, a lot of sort of military-esque ways of discipline and control. She talks about this escape.
Oh gosh.
This escape is wild. They're just walking. We did it.
Yeah.
It's like Andy Dufresne in the rain
Yeah.
outside of Shawshank, and then he looks around and goes, I didn't really think further than this. Now what?
Yeah.
Well, he had a plan.
He had a great plan.
These bitches did not
It's
have
like,
a
oh,
plan.
I didn't know we were going to the ice rink, so
They're just 15, 16 years old, walking down the street going, what do we do now? So what do? They hitchhike. They get in a car.
let's go die in it.
They get in a man's car and go to his home with him, which is
It's way safer.
bad. He employs them to help him repossess cars.
It's already. I was like, wait, is he just stealing cars?
Who is this?
Is he just getting them to steal cars for him? Like, that's just what I thought.
The whole scenario is just, it's like Hollywood movie mad. Like, I can't believe this is happening. What a story. She's the getaway
Just
driver.
normal people. Like, okay, you're hitchhiking. It's just a normal person is going to be like, okay, let me help you out, bring you into town or something. It's always some psycho or some repo man. It's never, I guess the normal people are like, I'm not going to pick up a couple.
If I saw two teenage girls walking down the freeway, I'd steer clear.
Yeah, me too.
Because teenage girls are
They're
frightening.
scary. I don't know what they're going to do.
Put them to work.
Yeah.
Make this one the getaway driver. And
What the hell?
I love how she says, I wasn't thinking about the rules of driving. What were you thinking about?
Isn't that the only thing? Like,
Well, either she probably wasn't licensed. Maybe she was licensed, but she probably wasn't a very good driver. And she wasn't licensed long enough to just have these rules of driving just as part of your muscle memory.
I guess, but it's like, I don't wanna get caught right now because I just stole a car maybe. Let's try not to get caught.
And it's not like they're subtle with the stop signs. They're big red
Yeah.
signs that say stop. Rules of driving.
We're, like, in the middle of nowhere, I'm assuming. There's one stop sign per capita or whatever.
Kristen fears the police, and good on her, so she gives her name. The other girl, she lies about her name, and she just takes off.
Princess Diana. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Bye."
Don't you want to know what happened to
Yeah,
this other girl?
that was a branch that just went off that way. What
Bye.
happened to her?
I mean, I really think
She's
that
repoing cars still.
she's Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah. "Hi, my name is Dog the Bounty Hunter."
So it feels like this police catching her was probably a good thing
I
for her.
think, yeah.
And then they don't call her parents, they call the school, which is weird. And she says that seeing the staff be genuinely upset that she'd run away, and it moved her. It broke something in her, and so she felt cared for, and she decides to just hunker down and take it and graduate, and she does. And she gets to go home for her senior year, and the world is new and different. What is MySpace?
You don't need it.
And then at 19, she reconnects with an old friend, and essentially she's introduced into this whole group of friends, and they completely wrap her up and treat her as one of their own and protect her and are interested in her. And it's just like this immediate friendship. And I remember, groups of friends these ages. It's so integral to your whole life, and you do everything together, and you feel like things are looking up for her. And part of this friend group is a boy named Stevie, and he's cool. He's got a fun dad and a good house. Anyway, they go on this camping trip. They're excited about it. They go to Grand Junction at the potholes. And I did look this up on YouTube because I wanted to get a visual of what she was talking about. I recommend that y'all do that as well. It's almost exactly like she describes. Do you want to see it, T?
Yeah. Research alert.
You jump from there.
Is that exactly the same
It's the exact same place. Then you slide off that smaller walk. It's just really
Can you do it one more time?
Mhm.
Wow.
Look it up, y'all. YouTube. And she's got this whole thing. She wants to be brave and do it. Right?
Yeah.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
So they drive to these cliffs, and the water levels are high, and there is a sign that basically is like, it's dangerous. And I'm here to tell you, always pay attention to danger signs.
Yeah. What was that one with the shark? Was it a shark?
Right. The shark
Where that gray angel, the angel?
Yeah. It said,
Don't
Doesn't-
swim here.
don't swim here.
This is not a good spot.
And he's like, that's not for me. Scott and I went to Yosemite this year in March, and it was still the rainy season, and we came up to this pathway that goes to the Vernal Falls hike, the Mist Trail. And it was a big roped up signs that basically, because it's wet out, it gets really slippery. And not just us, all these people, like, oh, I see the sign and I pull Scott to the side. And I was like, we're not violating a sign.
Yeah.
And all these people are just walking past us, climbing over the sign and just like going. And Scott's like, everyone's going. And I'm like, I don't operate that way. I abide by signs.
Yeah.
Surprise. He's like, what everyone's doing. I'm like, if you jump over bridge.
You said that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like in a mocking way.
Okay, good. I'm following the sign.
And people have slipped and
Yeah.
died there. I mean, you know, somebody's not like the safest place in the world. Someone just died there a few months ago going up, what's it called? Half Dome.
Mm.
And he talked me into it. He's like, I was like, isn't there a dinner? There's another trail. And he's like, it's so much farther. Remember, I was really sick because of your children. Or no, I was sick because of Great Wolf Lodge. Because we went to Great Wolf Lodge right before I went to it. It was big super marathon. I just wasn't feeling good. And he really had been looking forward to doing this hike. And I bought, you know, I paid for this trip for his 40th birthday. It was like a big deal that I have a parent enthusiasm for this trip, even though I was suffering. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Yeah, everyone else is doing it. Yeah. Because the other trail,
They did it?
the alternate route was like way longer. Am I happy that I did it?
Yeah.
I have happiness that I didn't let Scott down and that I did the hike. Am I happy that I violated the sign? No, that sticks in my craw. And maybe this is a values difference between Scott and I. I'm a person that abides by warning signs and he's not. Maybe
like a warning sign myself.
Would you abide by the warning sign?
What did it say again?
It was like danger conditions, wet, or what, you know?
The wet?
Yeah, it was the end of winter.
I don't know. I don't like it.
Anywho, Kristen jumps. Here's the big question. Should she have?
Well, in retrospect, no.
No?
In retrospect, no.
No?
In retrospect, no.
Why?
Because Stevie died. So no.
So you think that
Maybe if she jumped 10 seconds later, it would have been a different thing. 10 seconds before. I mean, it's so, you never know what would have happened. The moment that she did it and the moment that happened, all these scenarios, the split seconds it happened, the exact second that she did it and all that stuff happened, no. She shouldn't have done it then.
But you're asking.
I'm just saying in retrospect.
Okay, in retrospect. But she doesn't have the benefit of retrospect before she makes the jump.
I'm saying in retrospect, but not in retrospect.
But let's just put ourselves in Kristen's shoes here. She's on the top of the cliff face. All of her friends are doing it. They're a new group of friends to her. She's kind of starting this new adult life and she wants to fit in and she wants to challenge herself and she wants to be brave. If you were at the top of that cliff with her, and she can swim.
And at 18, you can swim.
If you were at the top of that cliff with her and she's going, T, I want to do it.
I would have done it.
Right.
I would have done it.
And you would have encouraged her to do it. T, I really want to do it, but I'm afraid. Do it. You would say, do it.
I don't know if I would have said do it. If I had never done it, I'm not sure I would have said do it. If I'd done it a million times, maybe I'd say do it.
Yeah.
But no matter what, I probably would have done it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously in retrospect, if she hadn't have jumped, this situation might have turned out a lot different. But she doesn't have the benefit of that. She only knows in this moment, other people are doing it and surviving. She wants to challenge herself and do it. Here's an even bigger question. Should people be allowed to do dangerous things in nature, period?
Let's just not go outside. That's what I'm saying. Let's prevent people from going outside and seeing other people and talking to other people. Let's just stay inside and Zoom each other.
Bring back the pandemic.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Try it. Hey, no pandemic? Try it. Right?
I used to be obsessed with that show, I Shouldn't Be Alive. Have you ever watched it?
No.
It's amazing. It's an amazing show. And it's people telling their stories of like usually going out into the wilderness and doing something they should have never done. And it used to make me so mad because it'd be like some girl like, and then I decided I was in France and I decided to scale this like Diamond 5 level rock face full of snow, and I got trapped up there, and a helicopter had to come, and I'm just like, "You fucking idiots. Like, how much money are we spending on these services to save your stupid ass?" So I would get, like, actually angry and have this moment of, like, "Just stay inside. What? We're gonna abuse these Sherpas trying to get
We
to the
have
top of Everest? Like, you can't prove you're a man in other ways? Like, come on."
we have VR goggles now. We have treadmills and VR goggles. We have fans, treadmills, and VR goggles. We have the treadmills have
I'll get a leaf blower, just blow it down.
exactly. You can have what's it called when you have the hill on the
Incline.
incline, and it's not only treadmills, they go all directions now. You can do all the things. And also VR goggle, you can share that experience with other people on VR goggles. Let's just do all of that, you know? And let's do that in Yosemite on VR goggles.
I love that.
Right?
We should climb Everest together with VR
Let's
goggles.
do that. And then we can say we did it without having done it. But we totally didn't.
Basically. So Kristen she jumps in and she does it, and she it's rough, but she comes to the service and she's really happy. She's really proud of herself. What a feeling of euphoria to know that you pushed yourself to do something you're afraid of and you did it. And then, uh-oh, what is this current pulling me back? I can't get out. And then this panic starts to set in, and it's probably clearly obvious. And Stevie, we don't know what's going on in his mind, but he is the way she describes him, he sounds like an observant person who cares deeply about his friends, and without really thinking about any harm to himself, he jumps in and saves her life. And he is truly a hero. And she was it sounded like she was close to really going under.
Yeah, because she was really
So
trying to swallow water.
he gets her out, and she's in her own trauma now of having this whole "I almost died" thing, she's dealing with that, and now she's hearing rumblings that Stevie's in trouble, and she's describing this whole scene, and it's very dramatic and very upsetting. And now she has this panic of losing the savior to the same fate that she almost lost her own life in. Brittany is the smart one. She runs for help. The others are doing CPR on him. Go learn CPR. Kristen is sort of having a tough time. She doesn't know what to do. She says she pulls his feet out of the water and tries to warm him up. She said she sees that his eyes are open and he's looking up to the sky, and she's wondering if he's having this moment of entering the afterlife. And a man with an ATV comes and says, "I want no part of this. I don't know what's up with that guy. I'm not judging that guy. If I rolled up and saw a bunch of teenagers with a person that I thought was dead, I would probably help."
Yeah.
Yeah. The EMT comes, and basically, I mean, Stevie, he dies, you guys. He's dead. It's completely tragic. They pull him away, and his body out under this blue tarp. Kristen's immediate thought is,
It's her fault.
it's her fault. Is it?
No,
If she hadn't have been there.
none of them had been there.
Yeah, you can start to blame all kinds of
Blame
things
game.
real quick.
Your blame game
That's your
thing.
blame game.
There's so many things. I mean,
What if they saw the signs and they all said, "Hey, let's be smart.
let's not do this
Let's
again.
not do this." But they drove 5 hours out there. They're kids. Their brains aren't even done yet. Of course they're going to do it. Teenagers are all ego.
Sorry.
They're all ego and id. They don't think they can die. That's why so many lose their lives in car accidents. I mean, that might not be true anymore. That was true of our generation. I don't think kids get licenses anymore. I don't know.
Oh,
What do kids do? I don't know. I don't know anything about kids. Okay, so it would be hard. It would be really difficult if she didn't immediately think, this is my fault. Of course, I think
I
anyone.
feel like you just a spotlight on you right then and there.
Absolutely. Oh, and this is awful. Now they got to get home.
It's a 5-hour drive.
Can you imagine? Well, first you got to climb back out, it sounded like, which just sounds terrible. You have to have this car ride home, and she's listening to her friend telling people what's going on. Everyone's so upset. The poor kid who had to drive and be so upset about losing his friend. I mean, just how do you go on? And because she thinks it's her fault, she's gonna be just dreading getting there, right? We're going to Stevie's dad's house. He's just lost his son. I gotta walk into this house.
And how are they describing on the phone to these people on the phone and saying, and then he went and saved Kristen? Yeah.
Oh, remember Kristen, the new one?
Yeah. You don't remember Kristen? Oh, remember she went to those troubled kids schools? Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah. She used to
So
repay
she fell
campers.
and she was trapped, and then Stevie saved her, and then he got trapped, and then he died. Yeah, saving Kristen. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah, she's just listening to it.
Kristen. It's like, oh my,
I don't know her. Can you imagine, like, having to
it's
listen?
awful.
It feels like something that would happen to me. So she has to go into Stevie's house, and to his father's credit, he hugs her immediately, and she's still feeling, though, shouldn't you hate me? But he has grace at this moment. She walks into the house. She spots a what, T? What's sitting on the kitchen counter? An edible arrangement.
Oh yeah, I didn't write that in my notes, but yeah, an edible arrangement.
It's a detail. It's an
Yeah.
interesting detail to clock.
Is it a strawberry chocolate covered strawberries, or is that
Those are
pineapples? Yeah, edible arrangements. Yeah.
Your son just died. I have sent you an edible arrangement. I can't believe that
That's
people
fast.
sent those.
Edible arrangements. That's really fast.
They must have gone and bought it and brought it over.
It's a store?
What?
I don't know.
It's 2008. Things are different then. And she's not crying. And I'm sure it did bother her. And I'm sure people did look at her and be like,
Interesting.
yeah. And she's leaving, and this other dad guy grabs her and says, "It's not your fault. You're here for a reason." And it was like he looked into her soul. And what a sweet person to say that to her, 'cause
She needed that.
she needed it. She goes home and she takes a shower for the first time, and she talks about how she felt dirty inside and out. And yeah, she talks about
Mhm.
that triggering sensation and sound of the shower water.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I mean, after you've been in a place with that constant sound. So the friends just want to be together. I understand that. She's asked to speak at his funeral. What do you think about that request? That seems sort of, I guess their thinking is that she wants, they want to tell that hero story, like the reason
Oh.
that he didn't die in vain, that this person standing up speaking to you today is a person's life that he saved. That's a guess for me.
That's a good guess. That's a much better guess. My guess was that they became like fast friends and that they became really, really close.
I mean, that might be true as well, but I think it's more of,
Yeah. No, that makes a lot more sense, I think.
here's what he died for,
Yeah.
which again can be taken negatively. Here's what he died for. And she talks about how she's starting to see these hints of frustration with her. How do you think that showed itself? Can you think of an example? She didn't give any, but I was like thinking about how that might express itself. A hint of a frustration.
It's got to be subtle.
Yeah. Maybe it's something as simple as her saying, like, maybe if I was a stronger swimmer, and someone going, yeah, it's too bad you weren't a stronger swimmer.
Yeah. Instead of reassuring her and be like, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Back to it, it's more like,
Yeah. But she's already on high alert looking for it. So of course she's gonna, if it is there, if it really is there, she's gonna find it.
ugh.
What do you think about her sharing the story with the news outlet?
Oh, yeah. They weren't happy with that.
Her reasoning, though, is pure.
It was.
She says she wants to do it because she wants to tell the world what Stevie did.
Yeah, because he's a hero.
Why do you think that her friends were mad about it?
Like, maybe she's trying to get publicity or something, or yeah, I don't know,
It's like
because
this.
she's the one doing it too. I don't know.
It's almost like he's ours. He's not he's ours, and we decide when we share this news with the world.
Like, we decided you'd speak
Yeah, and
because he saved you, but you can't just talk to
you can't make this unilateral decision because he's not yours.
yeah. Mhm.
He's ours.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
But I also see what she's saying too. She just wants to shout from the rooftops what a
Yeah, but
hero.
now everybody in the world is looking at her as the closest one to him,
Yeah.
when really they were the ones
Yeah. True.
that loved him the most.
True. The shift starts to happen, and as I said at the front, the anger has to come. The anger must come.
So somebody that wasn't even from the trip. Just some random person that wasn't even there.
I think that's probably where the anger came from the most. At least the people on the trip have like an understanding of what happened. Someone that was close to him that wasn't on the trip just hears the story. Yeah, I could see how they could get
Well,
real
who the
pissed.
fuck is this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I was doing my SATs and randomly, like,
Yeah, who's this girl and why was she doing something she shouldn't have been doing?
yeah.
And why would he jump in to save her? Yeah, all of that. And she says she's told you are no longer allowed. That's bold. Here's my question. Do you think this was a blessing in disguise?
That she wasn't allowed.
Mhm.
Why you say that?
I feel like it hadn't occurred to me before, but then when you were talking about your heart, that's when it occurred to me. Like, even though they're excluding her and making her feel othered or less than or whatever you wanna call it, they also set her free.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Those were the words I was thinking. Set her free. Yeah.
And now she has to forge this new path on her own, but also she doesn't have to be constantly reminded of what they've lost because of her, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult. I mean, it's insanely difficult, but I think she would say now, today, it was a good thing for her because she could have got stuck in that grief cycle forever. It forced her out.
Well, while she's with them, it's their story. And when she separates from them, it becomes her story, and she can make it what it actually is for her, right?
Mhm. You know, where I wrote down, "Where do you belong when it's your fault?" I mean, these are tough things. I think about this all the time. You trusted me enough to watch your 3 children today by myself. What if an accident happened?
Mhm.
It's something that I think about because at first you'd be like, "Ellie, it's okay. We know that you didn't mean for anything to happen. We still love you. It's not your fault, da da da." But I know at some point the state I'm not saying they lost their life, but if they were severely injured or something like that, at some point though, you're gonna get mad at me and say, "Ellie, where were you? What were you doing? Why were they doing that? What was," like
Yeah.
the questions are gonna start to come, and there is going to be a divide that happens between
Right,
us.
right.
So while it's incredibly trusting on your part, and I take that with a great deal of responsibility, it's also scary because if something did happen on my watch, that would mark our friendship
Yeah.
irrevocably forever,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So quit making me babysit.
Yeah.
Just like if you were away on a trip and something happened with Gwen watching them,
Oh, yeah.
there would be a problem. And this breaks up families all the time because one parent has custody control of a kid, something happens, and the other one can't deal.
And then that resentment
Yep.
starts to you don't even like, "No, I don't blame you." You don't. But then there's
But you
something there
do.
that starts
You
to.
do. And all the little problems you've always like kind of had a problem with in the back of your mind starts to come to the forefront. Oh, because you don't pay attention and you are lazy and you are self-centered and all of these things that I always thought I could handle about you have now caused the death or injury of someone I care about deeply. And, you know, but now
Why
we
we should
friends.
always stay inside.
So she's forced to walk this road alone and she gets to a deep, dark place, but she does not unalive herself because she knows that she has a responsibility to live the life that Stevie saved. She must make a life out of the one that Stevie saved. That was a good line that she
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you got a new lease on life? You move to LA. But guess what? You can't have a husband and kids in LA.
No way.
So you leave LA.
Yeah. Go back to Colorado.
No one's ever had husband and kids in LA.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wow.
It has not happened.
But they do that in Colorado.
They do it in Colorado, where you can work in healthcare too if you want.
Yeah. Both things
Yeah.
can be true in Colorado. Or actually in Utah. No, she goes back to
Yeah, she just stops in
She
Utah.
stops there. You're right.
So I thought this was a fabulous part of the
This is
story.
great.
Really unexpected. She decides, what the hell? Why don't I go see what these places look like as a free person? These schools that she went to as a teenager.
Oh.
And she goes to the first one, and there's an old man there who's probably an angel. And I'm just kidding.
Oh.
What do you think that she got from visiting these places as a free adult woman? Or better yet, what was she looking for? Whatever she was looking for, she got it. But what was she looking for? I mean, it's a perspective check, right?
That's what I was thinking. That was the. Yes, slow it down. I was about to say that.
We paused for like 10 minutes.
The perspective, but I was gonna say it. Perspective.
Yeah,
But I wasn't. I only had one word. I have one words.
we know. And she says it herself, like to be able to be there and be free and to see it as a free person. And you have control and power in the situation. And it's almost to like, because your teenage years are so weird and fraught. They're so fraught. So it's almost like you have to confirm to yourself that did actually happen to me. I did actually go to this place. And there it is. That's not some weird dream I had. Like, that is real.
And this is amazing. I don't have to deal with that shit anymore.
Yeah. And
I'm my own independent person now.
even better, it's closed down.
Yeah.
And she says they didn't win. And she's got this, like, it gives her this new, fresh direction in life. She's let so much go and leave behind, good and bad. She starts sharing about Stevie on her socials, and she starts getting booked to talk to groups of kids. She brings in this bit about how her grandma loves her unconditionally. She goes to church, and it's amazing. And that's when she meets her boyfriend, Kyle, who's now her husband.
I don't know that accent.
He's my husband. They got 2 kids and Joy.
I love that.
I've talked about this before. Anytime you mention the name of someone that's been lost, it's a remembrance of them. It keeps their final death from coming. So this episode, Stevie, we do it in remembrance of you, and your name will be in our title because he made people feel important and he lived a life that mattered, and he gave it for her.
Mm-hmm.
And now she tries to matter in other people's lives. Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show where podcasts are kept. Please rate and review us. Thanks to Kristen Smith for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits, and the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Tromboli. Thanks to beautiful, lovely Cathy Sitzes for editing this episode, and to my gorgeous sister, Katie Capel, for building those blasted Instagram posts. but she never listens to the show. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us on traumabondedpod@gmail. Find us on Instagram at traumabondedpodofficial, or visit our website. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly. Good job. Hey, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Trauma bonded.